So let's start with Mets and Dodgers over there in the NL. Game one was uneventful if you're a Mets fan. Yeah, very eventful if you're a Dodgers fan. 9-0 rout. Really nothing home. Nothing to write home about. I mean, Senga started, could not find the strike zone, and Dodgers pounced like that offense we know can. And that was pretty much all she wrote for game one.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like you can't give them free base runners early on. Team like that gets hot. They weren't even close. Like Senga's pitches at the beginning of these games. I mean, I think I saw his first 17 pitches. I think 15 were balls, something like that, which is just insane. So he's not even giving them pitches to swing at. It's just free running the bases. And then on top of that, Flaherty was really, really good. Like he was really, really good. He was attacking the strike zone. Mets couldn't even get contact, let alone solid contact. It was tough. Not to use as an excuse, but I think flying out to the West Coast was a lot. And the Mets it's been a long couple of weeks for them, right? I mean, we go back to that doubleheader in Atlanta and then right to Milwaukee, and then they get the Philadelphia series. And they really haven't been home, and it's kind of just been a lot of traveling. I think they were tired, and I think they just looked flat. They looked flat in the field. Senga didn't have it. They looked flat at the plate. I don't know I don't even know if they had really any sort of approach. It was just like, let's just go up there. And it was early on that Flaherty had it, and I think that they were just too flat. It was a tough game for them. Tough game. Yeah. But they came out, you got to split, right? Whether you win game one or win game two, you got to split those first two. And they had a nice answer for that today.
Well, I think to Flaherty's credit, I think he saw the fact that they were a little out of sorts. He just pounded the zone. And he was it was fastball, strike one, fastball, strike one, fastball, strike one all night. Mixing in some off-speed stuff, working off the plate, expanding the zone when he could. I mean, he took advantage of what they were doing and worked out great for him. And I sent you guys a message. I felt like this was a bit of a throwaway game for the Mets, and not a throwaway game in the sense they were trying to lose. But when you look at your rotation, Senga's not your game one guy. The way Manaea's pitched lately, he's probably the guy you go to game one. But nobody else was ready to go coming off that Philly series. So it's kind of like, well, somebody's got to go. We'll throw Senga back out there again. He was okay last time. Maybe he can get us a few innings. So not that the Mets were trying to mail it in, but just they didn't have anybody else lined up to pitch. And it was like, hey, we're getting off the plane and we're in the West Coast and we're tired and we got to throw somebody out there. And Senga was the guy, and he wasn't good. And it didn't matter because the offense was lifeless for most of the game. And was it 2 hits they finished with? I mean,
three singles.
They never got anything going.
No.
Never got things moving, and it wouldn't have mattered who pitched in that game. They weren't going to walk out of there with a win. But to come back today, get started early, Lindor again setting the tone for that team, that's huge. You got to get started. And they got off to a fast start and were able to pace themselves right out there. And to Sean's point, splitting in LA in the championship series, that's a great start.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've now taken home field back.
The crazy stat that I've seen is Ohtani at the plate with bases empty versus with runners on. He's like, what is it? Like 0 for 17 with bases empty, but he's like friggin' 13 for 15 with runners on. Like that's wild. But I don't know which way to go with this. I think the lack of depth in the Dodgers bullpen is going to be an issue. They have a lot of young, unproven guys in there. I think they were saying today they got 4 or 5 rookies that are pitching in that bullpen. So I don't know. I mean, that offense can definitely bail them out. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. Freddie Freeman on one leg is still better than half the teams in the league. Like it's crazy what that guy's doing, as hurt as he is, and still being able to put up at bats and get around the bases somehow. But
yeah, he's a warrior.
I had to love the way he was like gimping home the other day, and in game one, and kind of like fell into Mookie's arms when he crossed the plate because he was done. Like he rolled the ankle again coming around third. Like the dude is a warrior, but boy is he banged up. And it's funny, we were after game 3, we're talking about the fact that the Dodgers have no pitching. They've been exposed. This is not looking good for them. And then what do? They rip off 33 straight scoreless innings and prove us all wrong that, we can pitch. Now, I think it helps that you faced the Padres, who clearly had fired all their bullets and were pretty much out of gas at that point. And then you face the Mets coming in on fumes. But when you got a Mets lineup today that was awake and ready to go, you didn't pitch as well.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I do think they deserve credit too. I mean, it was
for sure.
3 consecutive shutouts, right?
Yep.
2 of them against Padre teams where you win, you move on. I mean, those were some stressful games, some important games that the Dodgers needed to win. And it was 8-0, 2-0, and then 9-0. Those were the 3 shutouts. So, that what was it? Game 5 they ended up winning, right? It was 2-0. It was a kind of a winner take all. I mean, to show up and have 9 scoreless, in a game where you got to win to move on or you go home, whether the Padres fired all their bullets, so to speak, or not, that's still an impressive performance. And then after a 9-0 game 1, not only is Lindor setting, like, that's a big spot for Lindor. He's the best player on the team. He's, you could certainly make a case that he belongs in the discussion for MVP. And they, was 33 consecutive or 34, whatever the inning streak
33.
was, right? And he puts an end to it. 9 pitch at bat to start the game, and he ends it. It ends here. Like, we're not dragging this thing on to the 4th, the 5th, the 6th inning. Like, we're ending this here. Like, we're putting our flag in the ground here, and we're going to own this game. That's a big thing for your best player to come out and do that, right? It's nice when you get home runs and kind of supporting runs from the bottom of the lineup. You need that, but sometimes you just need your best players to be your best players. That sends a message to the Mets. It sends a message to the Dodgers. Like, that's huge.
And I think that's the difference between the Mets and the Padres right there, is you could tell in that game 5, but I think I texted you and said in the 4th or 5th inning, I go, if the Padres don't score here, they're done. And because you could see them starting to press, right? They were pressing and pressing and pressing, where Lindor is that X factor where he's like, I'm not going to press. I'm going to let the game come to me, and then I'm going to make it hurt when I get my pitch. And he did. And he set the tone for that team.